Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today, January 17th, 2024, believe it or not. There's no crying about it if you don't believe it. We're here at the MPO Policy Committee meeting. We're at the City of Laredo Council Chambers. We're 1110 Houston Street. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. We're going to have our chairperson, we're going to have, Juan Mendive with roll call, please.
Yeah, and Ms. Briones will help with signature. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Briones.
Good afternoon. Judge Tano Tijerina,
Present.
Mayor Dr. Victor V. Trevino,
Present.
Councilmember Melissa Cigarroa, Councilmember Ruben Gutierrez,
Present.
Commissioner Jesse Gonzalez, Commissioner John Galo, Councilmember Vanessa Perez, Mr. Epigmenio Epi Gonzalez,
Present.
Mr. Jed Brown. For the record, Judge, you do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Motion to excuse the ones that are not here.
Second.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have citizen comments, which we have none at this particular time. Let's go ahead and move into item 4. Items requiring policy committee action. The approval of minutes for the meeting held on November 15, 2023. If you all have had, everybody's already reviewed them, hopefully. Okay, motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for that. Item 4B, receive public testimony and approve resolution number MPO 2024-01 adopting the proposed amendments to the 2023-2026 Transportation Improvement Program, which for us, we kind of say TIP. So.
That's correct. Judge, thank you. Ms. Briones will give a brief presentation on this. Just a reminder on this item, we do need to ask if there's anyone here to speak for or against the item.
Is anybody here for or against this particular item? Anybody here to speak for or against this item? We'll have Mrs. Briones, and then I'll do it one last time, and then we'll close it. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, let's do that.
Good afternoon. Graciela Briones with the MPO. The Transportation Improvement Program, called TIP, is a document federally required, which the MPOs developed in cooperation with partners to program mobility and transit projects for a period of 4 years. All the MPO TIP documents are then combined to form what it's called the Statewide Transportation Improvement Program, STIP, and then TxDOT amends this TIP on a quarterly basis. The revisions to the TIP involving major changes require public review and comment period, which we started the 10-day, we opened 10-day comment period back in November, the previous meeting we had, and formal action by the MPO Policy Committee prior to being added to the STIP. Our MPO PPP, the Public Participation Plan, requires, like I said, a 10-day public review and comment period for any amendments to the TIP. And the three items that are, the three revisions that are here for your consideration is to change basically the description and the limits of these three projects. Project number 1 with CSJ 0018-05089, replace bridge at Uni Royal Drive. The current description reads replacement of bridge structure at Uni Royal Drive, and it'll be revised to IH-35 overpass, reconstructed new at Uni Royal Drive and SH-84. The limits were from 0.5 miles south of Uni Royal Interchange to 2.68 miles north of Uni Royal Interchange, and now will read from 0.47 miles south of Uni Royal Interchange to 3.22 miles north of Uni Royal Interchange. The second project is CSJ 086-16008. It's SL Loop 20 interchange at Lomas del Sur. The description currently reads construct overpass at Lomas del Sur Boulevard, and the revised description is construction of interchange improvement at Lomas del Sur Boulevard. The limits were from 0.1 miles south of Lomas del Sur Boulevard to 0.1 mile north of Lomas del Sur Boulevard, And now we read from 0.58 miles south of Lomas del Sur Boulevard to 0.721 miles north of Lomas del Sur Boulevard. The third project is CSJ 0086 14086 dash US 59 Loop 20 reconstruction. The current description reads reconstruction of existing 6-lane divided highway to proposed 6-lane freeway facility with a section including 3-lane frontage roads at US 59 to 0.4 miles of airport. And now the description would read converting a 6-lane non-freeway facility to a 6-lane freeway facility with auxiliary lanes and frontage roads. The limits were US 59 to 0.4 miles north of East Corridor Road, and the limits are being revised to from Business 59 to 0.28 miles south of Jackman Road.
Could I have the record reflect, please, that I have Councilwoman Cigarroa here, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, Mrs. Briones?
No, just if you
Any
wanted
questions
to
or
ask-
comments, colleagues? None had.
Motion to approve the amendments for the 2023-2026 tip.
Second?
Before I close it, is there anybody here for or against? For or against, one last time. None had. Motion second, any opposed? And the for and against and everything else, public comment will close as I drop the hammer. There it is. Very good. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next, we have item 4C, receive public testimony and approve resolution number MPO 2024-02, adopting the proposed revision of the 2020 to 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, the MTP, which this is a 10-year plan usually, right? Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
the 25-year plan, the MTP.
25-year plan. Is there anybody here for or against? Anybody here for or against? Do we need to go to number one or just stay at number?
It's the same one. It's just a quick update, just as you know, whatever we revise on the tip, we need to revise it on the MTP as well. And Ms. Briones was just going to present those projects there on our MTP listing.
Ms. Briones, you are now have the table, ma'am, and you are in 4C1.
Yes, Judge. It's just the revision that needs to be made also to the MTP. And it's pretty much to the Appendix A, which is our list. The 3 projects are highlighted in yellow there and are the same as listed in the tip and the previous item.
Any questions or comments? I'm trying to find it on my,
And what's that
Your
function?
packet?
it's not, I'll just do that. I'm trying to function, I'm trying to look at it. Anybody have any questions on this particular item? Anybody here for or against? Anybody here for or against? I've already said it 4 or 5 times, so with that said, do we have any motions?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion, a second. Anybody have anything else? Motion passes. Very good.
Judge, I don't know, did you do the roll call vote?
Did I what?
I don't know, you took the vote. There's a motion, second. I didn't hear the,
Motion just passed. Yeah.
okay.
That was a motion second. Any opposed? There was none had.
Oh,
I did not mention that, my apologies,
Oh.
but none had. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Everybody say yeah, is it?
thank you, I misunderstood.
Sorry if I missed that. Okay, let's move on to 4D, discussion with possible action to approve resolution of the MPO 2024-03, adopting the supporting the 2024 Texas Department of Transportation Safety Performance Measures, PM1 and targets. What do we have?
Yes, thank you, Judge. This is something that we do every year. It's a federal requirement, and Mr. Planner on our team will give a brief presentation.
Hello, Mr. Chairperson. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eduardo Bernal, planner for the
Thank you, sir.
MPO.
Welcome.
84 short. So basically, this item is to approve the safety measures that has been presented from the TxDOT office. As Mr. Medina mentioned to you, that every year we adopt the PM1 safety targets. And as we have done in the past with the PM2 and PM3, as you can see, which we have done back in June of 2023. Also, that's coming from the Federal Highway Department through the DOTs and the MPOs, which are done, as you can see below, Mr. Chair, is the annually. On the safety ones, we have 5 measures which are done annually by DOTs and the MPOs. The infrastructure PM2 measures are 6, and those are done every 2 years, which we did last year in June, including the PM3s, which were also approved last year in June. FTA also has the transit assets for our Metro. They have 4 measures, and they're done annually by El Metro. And they, of course, presented to us. And what are the measures? The measures are 5. The first one is the number of traffic fatalities, the rate of those fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, VMT for short, the number of serious injuries, the rate of serious injuries per 100 million VMT, and the last one is the number of non-motorized fatalities and non-motorized serious injuries. And this is because we are committed to Road to Zero goal development, which back in May of 2019, the Texas Transportation Commission adopted Minute Order 115481 to direct a TxDOT toward the goal of reducing the number of deaths in Texas roadways by half by the year 2035. The next line are the measures, and each column has the targets as well as actual data. The measures to your left are the measures that I just mentioned to you. From 2020 to 2022, those are the actual numbers of fatalities, including serious injuries, for the state of Texas. In 2024, in 2023, those are still not actual numbers. On 2024, we have 2 columns. One is the target, and the other one is being the 5-year average. These are those targets that are being passed through us from the Texas fiscal year 2024 Strategic Highway Safety Plan. And it's normally, the MPOs have the option to adopt them or not, but throughout the state, mostly all the MPOs adopt, and these are federal requirements upon us. So on the last 2 columns, 2024, the data that's being mentioned to us is we need to take the lowest of it. So the number of fatalities will be 3,046 fatalities. That's unfortunately the target goal. The rate of fatalities will be 1.14. The number of serious injuries will be 17,062. The rate of serious injuries will be 6.39. And the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries will be 2,357.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Excuse my ignorance, but what is target data versus actual data?
Well, the actual data that's coming from the CRIS.
Because I'm noticing that 2020 and 2021 are actual data. 2022. 2023 and 2024 is target data. And my question is, why wouldn't, explain to me what's going on there?
Yeah, so TxDOT updates this every year in their highway safety plan. So they have actual figures from 2020 to 2022. At the time that they're developing these targets, they still didn't have a full year of actual data in 2023. So they are reflecting the target data from last year. But the actual data is from 2020 to 2022. And then based on that actual data, they're able to trend out and forecast the future year targets. So 23, when they did this, still wasn't a complete full year of data. So that's why it only shows the target numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Judge, if I may, I've got a question.
Yes, please.
What is that rate of serious injuries per number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries? Everything is related to motor vehicles, and this non-motorized, what does that mean?
That's a very good question, Mr. Mayor. The non-motorized, we see there are fatalities that are pedestrians walking the street. Could be either also in a bicycle, non-motorized fatalities, and injuries will be in those categories as well, but they're just injuries. So it's in a pedestrian walking in the street, being hit by a car, you know, or,
So it's relates to pedestrians more than anything.
yes, yes.
Does that include workers that are working on the highways or not?
I would, would
Yeah,
that include?
I believe that would be included. I don't know if TechStop might actually know that answer, but my understanding is this would be, also including the workers on the highways, because it's non-motorized fatalities and service injuries. I believe it does include that number.
Yes,
Also, this is a statewide, all these numbers are statewide numbers.
that is correct. This would include, it include fatalities in our work zones, not necessarily if a construction worker is killed with, by anything other than a vehicle incident, then that wouldn't necessarily show up in these numbers, right? I mean, it's only if there's a vehicular accident that causes a fatality, right?
Not for the workers, basically.
No, for the workers.
For the workers
Yeah.
also?
Right, if a worker is involved in the accident, but, if a worker dies for some other reason, right? I mean, then that fatality wouldn't be counted in these numbers.
Only accident related?
Only
Car,
involving
or only motor vehicle
vehicle
accident related.
Correct.
Perfect.
So it could have been an equipment malfunction, if something could have happened,
Yeah,
and let's just say it was the worst of the worst, he passed away, it doesn't count. But if somebody ran over him during the time that he was there, then it counts. Do
exactly.
we have an idea of what that would be, the counts would be, 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%?
No, it's actually very low. I mean, we do keep track of fatalities in work zones, and that is actually a pretty low
Minute
percentage.
number?
I can't tell you, I don't recall the exact percent, but it's actually a very,
That's a good
very-
question, I was just curious and following up, tthank you.
All right, thank you.
Recently, we had the Cuatro Vientos, the gentleman that was walking on the highway, that would be categorized as non-motorized, because he was
Okay.
walking. Versus the one we just had in Mount Margaret 22, when they skid off the highway in Freshman One, when he passed away from Roma, so.
Very good, any questions, comments?
So I do have a question.
Yes, please.
I think the number, the 2022 actual for a number of fatalities, I think that number, because the numbers that we get typically, I get an email every morning and it shows the number for 2022 and it's 4,407. So I'm not sure where that 3,272 came from.
Right, because you see a
Now you
reduction
really
of
got me
1,200 deaths or fatalities. That's a huge number in the reduction of. I was gonna ask, how did the state of Texas do that or accomplish that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and these numbers are we got these numbers from the FY 2024 Strategic Highway Safety Plan Performance Targets. And that's what the TxDOT TPP team tells us to follow. So those numbers are on there
Okay.
for 2022. As you mentioned, for fatalities, that is a number that's showing.
Okay.
2021 does show 4,486 in 2021.
Let's just say that there was an outlier, which let's just say anomaly wise, let's just say 2022, you're right at 4,000 some odd. That's still a significant drop to 2023 though, 3,159. Not unless that number is incorrect as well.
Well, 2023 is actually, I think, based on like on a target, right?
Oh, that's targeted
That's not
highway.
an actual,
You're right,
number.
you're right, okay.
There's more information in the packet. There's the actual, data that was sent from the DOT.
Okay.
In case y'all, want to.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Is all this data coming from the same source? So if it's coming from the Texas Strategic Highway Safety Plan, would that also be TxDOT that's providing that number?
Yes, all the numbers that you see on that
Which
table.
TxDOT though, cause this TxDOT's a little different than the one that we're seeing now.
Table, yeah. This is up in Austin with their traffic safety team, or traffic safety division.
Well, I would imagine that wherever Mr. Gonzalez is finding his numbers and getting his reports, that there should be some phone call to be able to see what the correct number is so that we can reflect the correct number
Correct.
in what we're adopting.
Yeah, we can work with the district just to make sure, like I said, this is from TxDOT, and we can verify where that other number came from. Since we are adopting the state targets and not our own, these are the numbers that they've asked us to adopt from the
Right, but we're talking about a number that shouldn't be
And
a
maybe,
target, that is
Right.
represented here as actual
And if
data,
they-
so that should be a fixed number.
correct, and that's what they have in the report, and if they use that in the report, they use that to develop their targets as well. So that's something that, that division within TechStot did, so we need to find out where the difference is, or that difference, why they have a different number than what was reported to our district engineer.
How can we approve these numbers if we already know that they're not correct?
We're approving the target for the 2024 year, really. I mean, the other numbers are actual data. These are the numbers that TechStot
Yeah,
provided.
but if you
and-
look at it, your target's a 5-year average. It's taking those numbers into consideration, so it's also throwing your numbers out of whack.
Right.
I'm not a mathematician, but I went to Nixon, but I thought I did pretty good at Nixon.
I want you to choose.
I'm just saying, calculators all work.
In your packet, you do have that strategic highway safety plan performance targets. And those numbers that you see up in this table do reflect
Okay.
those same numbers that, that are in there.
So you're comfortable with us adopting this?
Because we're adopting the state target, so the action is that our MPO body is adopting what TxDOT is saying are the actual
Yes,
targets.
but I have a feeling that these numbers are gonna come back and haunt us later on if we adopt them in a low number, because they're gonna say, well, you guys don't have that many fatalities.
Yeah, well, I mean,
That's worrisome, because right now it's like, oh, it's no big deal, it's insignificant. But then there's gonna be a grant, or there's gonna be something out there that they're gonna be reading and going, well, your numbers aren't that high. That's all I'm saying,
yeah,
Juan.
no, these are statewide numbers, so, I mean, and what we can do.
Can I make a comment, Judge, real quick?
Yeah.
The 2023 target, how many months are we behind? You show 3159 as a target, but how many months is the state behind to give us actual figures, actual numbers? Because for us to adopt, the 23 one obviously would have been adopted, but the 24 one, what if we're at 4,000? If EPI is telling us, I'm sorry, Mr. Gonzalez is telling us that we're at 4,000, some at 22, and we're adopting the 23 target and the 24 target at 3,000, that's a huge decrease. And like the judge mentioned, if we're showing the target at a decrease of over 1,400 accidents, that's plenty for the state of Texas. So my question is, how many months are you behind with the target for 23?
That's 2023 target data, is what was adopted last year for 2023.
And what are we at
They have
actually?
preliminary data, just got released by TxDOT, so it's not final yet, but they're releasing in these next few months.
But we're over 3159 for the state of Texas for this year.
Yes,
I'm sorry, for last year, for 23.
Yeah, I would think so. I
So-
would have to make sure, but that's not in the report, but
So
I mean,
then-
I would think it's above that.
The number that I have for 2023, again, that number may still change, in the next few weeks or in the next month or so, is 4,233.
4,200.
But that's 2023, right?
Correct.
You said you had another number for 2022?
4,407.
That was for 2022?
Correct.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's some discrepancy. It's
What do you want us to do, Juan?
not on our end. Federally, we're required to adopt these targets before TxDOT puts them out. We have 180 days to do that. All the MPOs, once they get all this data from TxDOT, they start doing it in January, February. I mean, I would recommend that we adopt these targets now, and we can find out what that discrepancy is. But again, we're adopting this based on the data that was provided.
What's the timeline? How much time are they giving us to
We'll have to the end of February to adopt the
bring
target.
it back next
Yeah,
month?
I think it was, I don't know if you remember the actual date.
Yeah,
Is it-
it's, I thought it was at the end of this
I
month.
just don't wanna approve something that we sit in here knowingly, openly understand that these numbers are not correct.
I mean, we would,
I agree.
if that's the case, we're gonna go back to TxDOT, and TxDOT's gonna have to look at the numbers statewide, and they're gonna, I guess all the MPOs will.
And
We'll have to ask them.
if they if they're gonna force us to do this, then why we even bring it on? I mean, this is just ministerially, then we're just adopting this. It's just in-house, is what I'm
Judge,
trying to
I
say.
do have a question.
Please, sir.
Say we do adopt them, or we have to adopt them. Can we say adopted as projected? Or would that
Yeah,
change
because we're just
anything?
adopting TxDOT's projected
As
targets.
projected, so
Yes,
if we
and
put that wording in there, so.
And what we're doing as an MPO body is that we wanna make sure that we're programming projects and plans that are gonna support the state's targets. So, when that number changes a little bit, we're still working towards making sure that we're reducing the number of fatalities, reducing the number of serious injuries. That's really the big picture here, is making sure that we're working on our plans and the projects we're funding are reducing the state's fatalities or reducing the serious injuries, and we're working towards that, so that's a big picture.
I mean, what are the consequences if we don't meet these targets? Because if the state of Texas is off, or TxDOT is off by 1,400 numbers, and what you're presenting us is off by 1,400 fatalities, that's a huge number. So if we don't meet those projections, those targets, what comes to us?
The MPOs are not impacted by this, so we don't meet those targets. It does not affect any funding or anything like that. This time, they just want to make sure that the state and the MPOs are working together to bring those numbers down to hopefully at a federal level, because all states are doing this.
So that's all it is?
Yeah, it's
Is
not
to
gonna
bring
affect-
these numbers down? It's just a target number for us to bring them down, for us to knowingly know?
Yes.
Right, in the know?
Yes, correct. And for us to, like I said, work on plans and funding of our projects that are gonna enhance safety, reduce fatalities, reduce these serious injuries, which we're doing through a lot of our projects already and our plans.
Juan, we could probably be on this for another 10 minutes.
Yes.
I don't wanna do that. Can we just go ahead and bring it back on on February, please? And if we have to adopt them knowingly, if you're telling us, okay, yes, I've already spoken to them, they said to adopt it like that. If it doesn't affect our funding, or doesn't affect any grants, or doesn't affect anything like that, I don't have a problem doing it today, but I don't know, I don't think anybody has that answer.
Yeah, let me see.
Yes, please.
I don't know if you need official action, but if our issue is that we want to see 2022 represented correctly, then do you need some type of action from our body that says we would like for you to find out what the actual numbers are from Texas Department of Transportation, so that we know that we are working with the best numbers possible in passing this plan?
Yes, that, you can
The
include
most
that.
accurate numbers.
What's
You
your
can
motion,
include that
ma'am?
in the action.
Sure.
And I would
May I make an
recommend that
amendment,
it
please?
be included with.
Give me a second, I have a motion on the table right now. Yeah, can I have a second for discussion?
Second for discussion and
Very
amendment?
good, okay, I'm sorry, Juan.
No, I was just gonna say, you can add that to the action, but I would recommend that, we adopt the targets as is, presented by TxDOT, and if they need to be clarified, I think we can correct that at a future meeting, but at least we show to TxDOT and FHWA that we've adopted what they
I think we're
presented.
gonna show TxDOT if we wait another month. I think we're gonna show TxDOT that we're doing our due diligence and not just passing things that are coming in front of us.
Judge, if I may, the fact of the matter is 22 and 23 are way off. I mean, they're completely off. And if the target of 24 that we're gonna be adopting is that much off as well, we need actual numbers of what's actually happened. If they're telling us we're off by over 14 to 1,400 fatalities in 22, how many are we off by 23? It was just mentioned we're at over 4,000 accidents for 23, and you're only showing a target of 3,159. I just don't want to adopt something that is not factual, it's not showing the public what's actually going on out there. Because if we're showing numbers at 3,200 fatalities, and it's actually 4,200 to 4,600, that's a huge discrepancy in between. And I don't want this policy or this committee to be adopting something for the future, a target that we simply can't meet.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call the question. I have a motion on the table, second, I have a second, and the motion was to bring it back, to get with TxDOT, is that correct?
Yes,
And
to
get the
find
true
the
data.
accurate data count for 2022.
That's all she's asking,
since
that's all we're asking for.
That table needs to represent actual data.
22 and 23, ma'am? If you-
Well,
So we could-
23, I believe here it's listed as target data, and so while
Yeah,
it
you
will
want actual
change
data.
in the
The
future,
actual data.
they won't release those numbers, maybe not in time by next month.
Okay.
But 2022 is being represented here as actual data, and that's all we're looking for.
Yeah, because if I'm mistaken, somebody mentioned that 2022 is a 4,000 some odd number.
And the other thing, if I don't know if Sada might know the answer, but I know TxDOT adopts these targets, so I believe they've already done that. They adopted these targets, they presented to us.
Look,
They're
if
set.
you come back next month and you say these are the numbers they want us to adopt, oh, so be it. But at least we're doing our due diligence to next month to be able to get some other numbers. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
We're just waiting one more month.
We'll talk to them and we'll provide an update
Very good.
on that.
So I have a motion, a second. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move forward. Thank you, sir. Let's move forward. Item E, and that's discussion with possible action on the Achar Ruthinger Road project. What's going on here? Mr. Chavez, how are you today, sir?
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Afternoon, rather. Honorable Judge and members of the Policy Committee, Ramon Chavez, City Engineer. We continue working on the Charter Ruthinger, of course. We've been coordinating with TxDOT as much as we can. As far as update is concerned, TxDOT has submitted their management plan to administration, and that it's going to be
May I
pending
back up
review.
just a little bit, please?
Yeah.
How's the city doing?
The city, okay, so we provided all the information that we have as far as utility adjustments and right-of-way acquisition. So all that information was provided to TxDOT in order to submit this management plan that we needed.
Weren't y'all supposed to be acquiring the acquisition?
Yes, so both of those. So on the acquisition, let me go through these here real quick. We have 9 parcels, okay? Out of 9 parcels, we've already sent out 7 offer letters, okay? We're still pending to send 2 offer letters, and those are for parcels 6 and 9, okay?
Is there a
Parcel
reason
6.
why those are taking a little longer than the other 7?
Yes, the reason being, those were parcel 6, which is the Rutinger parcel, approximately 213 acres that survey had to be revised. And then parcel 9 was created. So those 2, we have a revised revision on 6 and a new parcel 9. So those are the ones that are taking us right now a little bit longer. Those are currently being appraised by the appraiser. We were supposed to get the final appraisal on Friday. We continue working with them, and so we're expecting that any minute. As soon as we get those final appraisals for parcels 6 and 9, then we'll be sending those offer letters immediately. And we're hoping for that to happen this week.
Out of your other 7?
Okay, so the deadlines, we have deadlines right now on the rest. Our deadlines that we submitted to TxDOT in order to put on that management plan are middle of March for the other 7 and middle of April for parcel 6 and 9. And this is to go before City Council for approval.
Does this
Mid-March
change-
and mid-April.
Does this change any of your dates?
What do you mean, Judge? For the letting?
Project completion.
For the letting, so in order for us to continue and not affect the letting, those are our target dates for all these parcels. Mid-March,
By when? Mid-March?
Mid-March.
You want everything, all 9 signed?
all 7 of them, just pending 6 and 9. And 6 and 9, we have a target date of mid-April to go to City Council for approval to acquire these properties. Those are our target dates. If we can get them sooner, we're most definitely going to get them sooner. These are target dates that we had to provide to TxDOT in order for us to present this management plan that they submitted to their administration, if that makes sense. And again, we have their target dates. We get them sooner, that's what we're working on. We're working on this every single day. We have staff working on this every single day between engineering, TxDOT, real estate, and all the other departments.
But if we stick to these target dates for March and April, we're still on target for completion date. Is that correct?
This is,
It's not gonna be, it's not
this
gonna
is
be
not
held
to
back
affect the
anytime soon.
letting. We don't want to affect the May
Exactly. That's a
2024
question.
letting.
So we should
do
be,
not.
if we stick to the plan, and this actually takes place in March and April, we're still in line with the completion date, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm. Same goes for the utilities. The utilities, we have all these schedules, all these relocation things that we already provided to TxDOT. And all of this is to not affect the letting date. That is our priority and our mission.
I won't blow a gasket until you tell me we're gonna change the letting date.
Yeah, no, and we're, no. And,
Right now, you see a smile on my face, okay.
yeah, no, and I know that. I know that for a fact. I know that for a fact.
Okay,
And I
very
hope
good.
to stand here in June and let you know that the project has already led. So, I understand that.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez,
Thank you.
appreciate you. I'm sorry, any other questions or comments?
No.
All right, thank you. Very good. Item 5, reports and presentations, no action required. Status report on the RMA. Anyone?
Thank you, Chairman. Melissa Montemayor with the
Hello,
Webb
ma'am.
County City of Laredo RMA. You have the status report for January in your packets. I can answer any questions if there are any.
Did y'all go over your package? Good, because I didn't either. So I'm just playing. That's just other faces.
I do have a
Yes,
question.
ma'am, go ahead.
Hi, Ms. Montemayor, how are you?
Good afternoon.
On number 4, the Concord Hills Wormser Road extension, my understanding is that perhaps Texas Department of Transportation wasn't wasn't necessary, or had not moved to support the project extension with funding because they were looking at the Cuatro Vientos route as being sufficient to serve that South Laredo project?
No, that project, was actually, those discussions between the RMA and the city of Laredo. There's been some discussions as to whether to use vehicle registration funds or CAT 12 funds. And the CAT 12 funds are funds that were funneled from TxDOT to the RMA. The vehicle registration funds are funds that, you know, the county collects and then are funneled towards the Regional Mobility Authority. So right now, the discussions between the city of Laredo and the RMA, and right now we're looking at bid unit prices and looking at the construction estimate. So those are the discussions that are happening right now. The RMA is contributing $1 million of one or, you know, of those two pots of money towards Concord Hills. And so, you know, the TxDOT's been very, you know, supportive towards that project.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we're moving forward with the project and looking forward to get that one built for the city.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Move on to the next one. The last one is presentation by Abrazo Partners on the Boulevard of the Americas project.
Thank you, Judge. Yes, we have the partners from Abrazo Partners here to give a presentation on the Boulevard of the Americas project. And I know we did have a meeting with TxDOT back in December to go over, you know, this project as well and see what can be done since the right-of-way.
Is this not a city initiative?
So, yeah, it's a city initiative, and then
How did it land with the MPO?
because of the transportation component to it on the roads that are adjacent to the 4 blocks. So that right-of-way is owned by TxDOT. There are some enhancements that they want to do to help, you know, beautify that area. So, and I'll let them present. That's how they got here, and they've asked us if they could present to this body.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Viviana Frank with Abrazo Partners. I'm here with Edward.
Edward Ochoa with KCI.
So, John,
Monica Guajardo with Abrazo Partners.
Ms. Guajardo.
So we have a presentation for you on the project. The sites are called Boulevard of the Americas, and they're the 4.5 blocks that are from mile marker 1 or 0, however you want to describe it, to the bridgehead on Bridge 2. And it's 2 blocks that the city of Laredo is proposing to do out of the 4 blocks. It's a 4-block project, but right now the funding is for 2. The 2 blocks that we're looking at are at Hidalgo Street and between Hidalgo and, I guess that's Matamoros, right?
Hidalgo and Farragut.
Matamoros. Zeroing in on the 2 blocks, these are part of the construction documents that we're working on right now. Essentially, they are a landscape project. It's basically a landscape project with some amenities on Bridge 1, at the Bridge 2 bridgehead. What we're proposing in these 4 blocks is that once people cross the street, they can cross from block to block going north to south by crossing the streets that are obviously not as traffic intense as the Santa Ursula and San Dario side. Here's some renderings. Hidalgo Street is bottom left. Then you have Farragut, and then you have Matamoros. There's concession areas. There's a lot of buses that come in, drop off people at the bridge, and they're going to be able to cross the street and go to these concession areas.
What are those 2 vans sitting there doing?
Which, I'm sorry?
There's 2 vans that are sitting there parked there. I'm just curious on what they're doing.
Are you talking?
Yeah, these 2.
Oh, those are food trucks. On the second, are you talking about the second here in the meetings?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you talking about the,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, they're food trucks on the second block.
Okay.
This is a good slide to explain. You want to talk about the streets and,
Sure.
and what we're doing?
So, my perspective in assisting, I guess, with the site civil design on the design team, we've had several meetings, with TxDOT, and, what we're looking at doing, of course, as Viviana was leading on to, is, kind of enhancing pedestrians through this area. So some of it is kind of, linking the Azteca neighborhood through, the downtown area, and this kind of being a meeting point. And of course, what you see here, a lot of the features that are being enhanced is also to help with the buses that are at bridge number 2. So in that first block, which you can see the hand here, this is bridge number 2. So this first block, we call it the southern block, would be, this is a concession. So there'd be a concession area there for them to get to. And then as you get to the second block, instead of a concession would be maybe an idea of having some food trucks. So what we have been doing and coordinating with TxDOT is looking at what we can do to kind of enhance this pedestrian safety across what is Santa Ursula and San Dario, right, which are two, basically is the end of I-35 as they get into to the bridge number 2. So what we have done in these renderings is shown, we'd like to look at enhancing the crosswalks. Currently there's crosswalks there, there's pedestrian poles for crossing, so all of that infrastructure is already there. But what we're looking at doing is how we can enhance the pedestrian safety and the traffic safety as people cross through there. So we'd like to enhance the crosswalk widths. We're also looking at putting what we call bump outs. You kind of expand the sidewalk area into the street a little bit, and we've looked at strategically how we can do that in our design. And then another big one is this crisscross area that you see in the middle, and that's, we see it and they call it the don't block the block, right?
The box.
Don't block the box, I'm sorry. Don't block the box. This is kind of a safety measure that you start to see it in other parts of the country. It's something that's allowed by the MUTCD, which is the federal traffic manual. So we thought that this would be a great place to implement that. We all know that the traffic gets pretty busy there. I think City of Laredo Police Department sometimes in busy times has traffic cops that are there guiding and making sure people are not blocking the intersection. So these are just some of the enhancements that we were looking at adding on our project and coordinating with TxDOT on that. So.
May I?
Yes, sir.
I love the concept. I really do. I think it's a huge eyesore what we have right now, and I think it's well past overdue. I think we're cooked at that point, beyond our recognition. But I will say that the 2 food trucks, I love it. I love the idea. I love the concept. Can we add a little bit more, like 2 and 2 and 2, at least for 6? You're gonna need on your third one, why don't you just maybe consider some kind of half mini parking lot? Because you're gonna need people. There's a lot of good things happening here, but I just don't see people going and eating there or parking, because where are you gonna find parking to even stop and eat there? And to really cross, you're asking 2 neighborhoods that really have never, I'm not saying don't exist with one another, but are kind of broken into from Highway 35. Now you want them to kind of congregate or kind of go into this little beautiful, beautiful place that I think definitely we need it. I'm not saying that, but it's just different little concepts. And I think more food trucks, maybe some parking spots on that third one. I know you have 4 or 5, maybe some parking spots. That way, if I wanted to stop with my family, I could stop and I don't have to go and look for parking over here on the sides, on the wings. That's just something to consider. That's all I'm saying.
So interesting. I love the way you're thinking, Judge, because there was actually parking. I don't know if you remember, but there was actually parallel parking.
Yes.
Along both sides.
Yeah.
And one day they were gone, you know. So we were asking if we could maybe bring those back, you know, because they did exist at one point.
Okay.
And And the stitching is really important of the two neighborhoods that got severed. They got severed in the late sixties, as an anticipation of the bridge coming in later in the seventies. There were, I don't know, probably 100 historic structures that were demolished to make this happen. And up until recently, that, you know, everybody in the Azteca neighborhood, and the Azteca neighborhood, depending on where you're thinking, goes all the way up to the 3 blocks, or it can go up to Guadalupe. It depends on who you ask. But you know, they used it for grocery stores. They still cross there to go to church. It's difficult for them. We've done a lot of work in the Azteca neighborhood in the last 8 months with this Methodist healthcare grant that there was several cohorts that were actually did get monies to do those projects. And the stories are clear. You know, we wish that the crosswalk was still there. We wish, you know, that we could get across and go into these areas again. There is a grant that the city hasn't, I think I don't know, maybe somebody here can tell me, but I think in a few months we'll be hearing from a grant that is specific for restitching neighborhoods that have been severed by highways. This is classified as a highway, even though it doesn't look like a highway or function like a highway. So, so there's a fairly large grant that we're looking specifically exactly for this kind of thing, where neighborhoods were severed because of highways.
Okay. I'm all for this. I think it's a beautification to our unique city, and I'm in love with this, but we just gotta make it right, and I think we gotta make it functionable. Because for us to think that everybody's gonna be biking and everybody's gonna be walking to it, I'm sorry. 120-degree weather, I dare you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry. We constantly are talking about all these, you know, pie in the sky scenarios. Let's just make it true to who we are and what we do. We're motorists. We're not bicyclists, as much as I love bicycling and cycling. But let's make some parking spots. Let's put some more food trucks. Let's make it to where you're gonna put a big old, City of Laredo's gonna put a beautiful Christmas tree in the middle during the Christmas holidays, and all the lights and parks and, you know, I could go on, preach, but we need to make it functionable.
Yes.
Please.
Is there, we're asking you.
I think I'm selling it for you. I think you're good.
You did a good job selling it, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the help.
Anything else? Anybody have questions? You have any questions, comments?
Questions?
I love it.
How did you? What are we doing with the other ones?
With the other
Two blocks.
two and a half blocks. Is that what you're?
Just 2.5, yeah.
Yeah, so-
I said 3, but it's 2.5 blocks.
Yeah, more, actually.
Yeah, so currently, let me go back to the overall view. So, we call that, I guess, 4.5 blocks. You'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That number 5 is the area where you're coming from underneath 35, right, and kind of starts to merge,
Oh, okay.
or split, I'm sorry.
That's where basically all your
That's
homeless
kinda
hang
like-
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like a half block, but, right now, the funding that the project has is for for 1, what you see as 1 and 2, which is called Plaza Azteca and Plaza de la Noria.
What is this running?
I'm sorry?
What are your projected figures?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're asking me. I
Just
thought you
these
were
2
talking-
blocks. What are these 2?
Well,
what-
right now, the funding is 2.7.
Are these 2 blocks or per block?
No, for these 2 blocks.
2.7 million?
Yes, and then there's, and then, this is one of the reasons that we need, we would love to hear, TxDOT helping us restripe and do all the stuff, the things that need to be done on the streets.
That's
Otherwise-
minimal though. I think TxDOT's those are minimal on TxDOT. I think you're gonna get 2+ million just for that, but I don't even see that. I see a little bit more. But you're doing a lot of landscaping, which I think is good.
Yes, a lot of it, most of it
Xeriscaping,
is.
is that correct?
Xeriscaping and trees.
Good.
And then, there's, the grant is for $7 million and hopefully.
Total.
Total.
And so where's the other one going? So 3 and 4?
Whatever comes in will go to finish the work there.
Where's it coming from?
The grant is a federal grant from, I
I
don't
want to say
have.
it's from,
Huh?
I want to say it's from the Department of Transportation, Reconnecting Communities Grant. A few
Okay,
months
there you
back, we provided a letter of support for the city's project.
Can Webb County go after that grant as well?
I believe they're an eligible entity.
If we are, I say we throw it in there too, more the merrier.
I believe they're eligible, and right now it's closed, but there's always a new year of funding, so that's something, you know, anticipate and look out for.
This is a face of who we are.
It's
That's the face of who we are right
It's
now.
the crossroads
And it's
of the
disgusting.
United States, yes.
So we need to start working on this. It's our time, so let's move forward. Anyway, I'm good with that.
Thank you. Appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
May I have a
Yes,
question?
ma'am.
And it's more for you, Mr. Gonzalez, is they spoke about TechStop coming in and maybe helping with the painting of the crosswalks and beefing up that area. Is that something that TechStop can do?
So I guess when we met last month, you know, there was a few action items I think that we discussed, and I think that we're gonna go back and look at some traffic counts and those type of things. You know, one of the things that was or is a little bit of concern is, you know, I think the proposal that they have is to, you know, construct some bulb outs. So that would effectively reduce, I believe, one of the right turn lanes or something like that. So I think we can, you know, we'll definitely try to work with them to see, you know, if we can perhaps minimize that impact to the, you know, to the overall operation of traffic in that area, right? So right now, there's a big, you know, concern with what we call road diets, meaning that, you know, we kind of reduce the number of lanes, so we definitely don't wanna do that. So, you know, we're more than happy to work with Abrazo partners and, you know, try to find some common sense, I guess, options or
And
solutions.
do you see, has your research into the data shown that the southbound lanes are perhaps less flexible than the northbound lanes? Because those northbound lanes don't seem to get the heavy traffic ever that the southbound lanes have. I'm not saying that there isn't traffic, just that it's not the same. And so perhaps a focus could be on where there is more flexibility.
Correct. And that's one of the things I believe KCI, Mr. Ochoa was gonna look into and, you know, look at some data. Also, I think we talked about, you know, there's you know, they have to run their models as far as, you know, the projected number of pedestrians and things like that, right? Because I think one of the reasons that we're looking at is to also shorten the length of the crosswalk so that, you know, people actually cross the road quicker, right? So that has an impact on the signal timing and those type of things, right? So I believe that's something that we're gonna be hearing from them hopefully soon.
Sure, if I could go ahead and add to that. That was something that we discussed when we met with TxDOT. They had suggested looking at a traffic impact analysis, traffic study in the area. So we're gonna go ahead and look at that and take some current traffic counts, and then look at how those bulb outs would affect, you know, the traffic. And certainly we understand that that's a concern. And so we're gonna keep that in mind. So just trying to implement some of these design ideas that can work for both sides.
Mr. Edward Ochoa for the record. Thank you, Mr. Edward.
Yes.
I know that in our city, and rightly so, right, we don't have a lot of areas that have 5 lanes that you need to get pedestrians across. But in other cities, it is a common occurrence, and they have really fancy crosswalks with voices that tell you, go now, don't go now, you've got these many seconds. And it creates a controlled environment for pedestrians to safely cross. So you know, despite our concerns, I hope we don't let that prevent us from moving forward, because there are ways to do it safely.
No, absolutely. We're gonna be looking at all the options and to answer the question, right? So obviously, you know, like that northbound direction, I guess, coming off of the bridge doesn't, you know, probably sees the same volume, but you know, it's being metered by the
Right.
bridge, right? And versus southbound lanes where, you know, everything's
collection
coming
of
off of
traffic,
I-35, kind of in a unmetered condition. So that's why we kind of see a disparity in the queue that forms.
You see possibilities.
Possibilities, there you go. So, all right, perfect.
Very good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Judge, one more thing.
Yes,
before we
please, sir.
leave. Just to add to your comment, I think we have to do something about downtown, and you're absolutely right, that this is the presentation to our city.
I agree.
And just want to make sure that by driving downtown, I see a lot of historical buildings. Every block has one or two, at least three historical buildings. As long as we kind of respect those buildings or work around them, I think we can do this very well. And these historical buildings would serve as Laredo being a tourist center because we have a lot of history here. There's a lot of buildings that are really historical here. So as long as we incorporate all that into all these projects, I think we'll be doing great.
I agree. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Mendiva, Director's report, sir.
All right, thank you, Judge. Appreciate it. First of all, it's good to see everyone. Excited for the work ahead of us in 2024. So thank you all. I know we had a break in December. It's good to be back. Also, right away, before I go into my report, just going to mention for that safety target, I did find out that the deadline for that is February 27th, so we can take care of that at the next meeting. Great. Thank you. So, update on the 2025 Unified Transportation Program. A presentation will be provided by TxDOT at our February meeting, and the forecasted funding and planning targets for the 2025 UTP are expected to be released in February. That's what helps us program our projects, for the next 10 years out. Also, our FHWA representative, Mr. Kirk Faber, plans to attend our February Policy Committee meeting. During his visit, he'll meet with staff to discuss our upcoming TMA certification review, which is scheduled for June 25th, 26th. That's a federal certification review that needs to be done every 4 years. So we're up for that again. Also, the development over 2025-2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan is in progress. The team held a kickoff meeting with the project consultants on December 18th, 2023, and a status meeting on January 11th, 2024. We'll continue to provide updates throughout the plan's development, and we'll be having public meetings and meetings with the stakeholders and the committees as well. We've prepared an RFP for our micro transit feasibility study. That's programmed already in our FY 2024 Unified Planning Work Program. So we're going to be issuing that out this month. We'll bring that back once we have the evaluations for those proposals that we receive. Also, at the last meeting in November, I know some of you were out, but we were directed to have a meeting in the Union Tech area or with the stakeholders in the Union Tech area about the congestion issues there. We're hoping to meet before the holidays. That wasn't possible, but we're going to be meeting the week of January 22nd. It looks like we're going to meet on the 24th of January to try to see what solutions we can come up with for the congestion out in the Union Tech area. Also, the next TxDOT Board of Trade Advisory Committee meeting will be held in El Paso on February 20th, 2024. And then also, I know it was asked by a committee member of Vanessa Perez to update the committee on the Texas Transportation Commission meetings. There was one held this morning. I did send you all an email that meeting was going to happen. There's the next one for the Texas Transportation Commission meeting in Austin. It's February 21st, 2024 at 2 p.m. And I believe they have another one February 22nd, 2024. Then in March, they're also meeting twice, March 27th at 2 p.m. and then March 28th at 10 a.m. In your packet and in the report, there's a link to the agendas for the Texas Transportation Commission meetings, where you can also look at the live streaming if you're interested. We've discussed before, if someone's interested in attending those meetings, and try to plan something out, coordinate to see, who can attend these meetings. Lastly, our own MPO meetings, the schedule. The next meeting is the Active Transportation Committee on January 31, 2024. Our technical committee will meet February 13th, 2024. And our policy meeting here at the City Council Chambers will be February 21st, 2024. Are there any questions?
I
Comments,
have
questions?
questions. Yeah, the February 22nd meeting occurring just right after the February 21st meeting, is that like a continuation of the
The agenda's
first
not
meeting?
posted yet, and it's usually special meetings. I don't know if you know that's going to be a special meeting. It's usually the case, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I can definitely find out. February 22nd, you said, right?
Yeah,
First 27.
21st, 22nd.
21st is at 2, and then it's a regular meeting, February 22nd at 10 a.m. Right? Once in a while, I know they're like special meetings to just take care of a few items or do presentations. That's what I've seen in the past. That agenda's not posted yet, so, you know, I'm not sure what the topic of that meeting would be, but that's what's on their calendar.
And, do you have any plans to attend any of these meetings?
I do, I don't know, these first few ones, these few months, but once we get closer to the UTP adopting that again, like we did last year, I would plan to attend those. You know, as the agendas come out, we look at the relevant items that are there. If there's really nothing relevant, you know, we should don't attend. I know Councilmember Bettis, she wants to make a presence there, so she wanted to make sure these meetings were, so even if I cannot attend, maybe someone from the committee, you know, may attend those meetings. But I don't foresee, attending any of the meetings right now in the near future, but probably once it gets closer, the UTP continues developing, I do see that, you know, I need to attend.
So the meeting on the 21st is a special commission meeting, and then the 22nd is a regular transportation commission meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else?
That's it, that's all I had.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any opposed? Didn't think so. Motion carries.